Hi there, Mike Thornton from Pro Tools Expert, and today I'm going to take a look at the Anymix Pro plugin from Iosono. And you can see here that it certainly looks like a surround panel, which one of the things it can do is just that. So if we just put some audio through it, then we can move the whole 5.1 signal all the way around the image, bring it back to the middle, and I could then rotate it. But it's, in many respects, that's just the very simple basic things. What I can do is to actually use it to position and fly sounds in and out. So I can actually take the sound, because most surround panels only work within the sound field. But with the Anymix, I can actually go outside of the sound field, right the way out, across, and back again. So approaches and zoom pass and so on and so forth can be really spectacular. But they're even better when we implement this distance dependent feature. So if I make the loudness distant dependent, and the EQ distant dependent, because obviously as sounds approach, when they're further off, they're obviously quite a lot quieter, and they also tend to be duller. And so by having these controls where we can control both the loudness and the EQ as the sound appears and disappears, so if we take this off to one side, and then as it appears, gets louder, and then goes quieter again. So we can do sort of zoom pass. And obviously bring it back together. It's in the center and hit the Alt key, and that brings it back fixed. So that's acting as a surround panel on a 5.1 signal. But again, there's more. So if we now take a look at a stereo track here, and we now look at that, and you can see here that we've got Anymix Pro inserted on a stereo track, so it's now doing stereo to 5.1. See, it's a 5.1 output because I've got all the metering across what is clearly a stereo track but outputting 5.1. And in the normal pan mode, we just have the left hand output going to the left speaker, the right hand output of the track going into the right speaker. But of course I've still got the option to move the sound around. So I can take a stereo track and I can move it around. I could, of course, spin it around into the rear channels and back again to the front. All those options are available to me. But we can also use the upmix option. So here we now have the upmix option. So it's not just opening out the panning, it's actually taking content from the audio and moving it out. So we can see here that, again, we can move this around. Back to the center. We can change the mix between the upmix and the original, so I can take it right back to the original. And if I just bring the stage width back to normal, it's back where it was. But obviously I can also open out the stereo. Well, once we bring the upmix in, that stage width can be brought right round, but it's also taking content and creating this 5.1 upmix. And again, we can control that. We can control the amount of ambience that goes to the front or the rear, so we can make it slightly front heavy, neutral, or rear heavy if we need to. And again, just as with any plugin, any of these parameters that I'm just adjusting, we can of course automate. And talking of automation, let's move down the track a bit, because a little bit further down the track I've got a single sound effect of a car passing. And what I've done here is to use the automation to actually automate the car going from front left to rear right. And again, it's a shame that you actually can't hear the surround version as the car passes across the surround field from the front to the rear and from left to right. That's an example of how you can automate any of these parameters to help you as you develop your surround mix. So just to recap, the Anymix Pro plugin can be a surround upmix. So we've got the upmix option with all the different presets. It can be a surround panner. So we can bring a signal in and back out again. You'll notice that how as we get towards the end, the left and right collapse down just as it would do in reality. You wouldn't get that full stereo width when the sound was a long way away. And collapses down again, back to the middle. And it's really nice that you can actually just get hold of this one element, whether you're in stereo or surround, and drag that around. You could, of course, put the whole plugin into automation and automate any of the moves that you want to get the sound move around the soundstage as you require it. But for me, there are a couple of things that really stand out with the Anymix Pro plugin. One is this ability to be able to get beyond the speakers, which is really good for arrivals and passes and departs, because with the distant dependent options, which I have to say do only come with the Anymix Pro version of the plugin, there is also an Anymix plugin. But the Anymix Pro plugin has got these distant dependent features so that as you pan away, the sound gets both quieter and more muffled, as it would in real life. And that's a real plus point for the Anymix Pro plugin, is that ability to treat the sound for both loudness and EQ in one hit. I'm not having to go in and create an EQ plugin and automate that. I can do it all within the one plugin. We've then of course got the upmix feature with the different presets. Certainly I tend to prefer the more neutral ones. Some of the other effects are using quite a bit of delay, and it's something that for my own personal taste I tend to prefer to avoid. So I tend to use most of the neutral options that are available in the upmix presets. But of course, a great thing about the Anymix Pro plugin is not only do we have the presets, but we also have the option then to adjust these individual controls, and then in good old Pro Tools fashion to be able to save presets of our own so that we can recall particular settings and techniques that we've developed. Overall, very, very interesting plugin. It's got certainly at least one unique feature in the ability to take the sound out of the main sound field. The user interface I find very easy to get to grips with. It's very intuitive. I can either get hold of things or I can go in and adjust controls. All very clear. The terms are very sensible. Can get my head round that concept. So we've got again the ability to provide divergence as well as sound width. So all those options all very clear and very easily accessible from within this plugin. So thanks guys from Iosono for developing this great plugin, and I can certainly see this being a key part of anybody's arsenal of plugins who are working in surround. See you next time.